It seems like everybody wants me to test the Ripper SMG in first-person combat of Star Citizen, since this is by far my best discipline that I'm most accustomed and practiced with. So we're here in the Kill Collector game mode during the Day of the Vara event, where I was interested in playing anyways. And for the first time, we're actually testing the Ripper SMG, which is a rather rare weapon in the game, because it was only available during a certain event in-game called Fight for Pyro, and this is how I got it for the PU. But of course you can also play it in Arena Commander, and in this video I want to give you a full performance review of the weapon, and also a complete conclusion later at the end of the video how it performs. And I have never really tested the weapon, but I've always heard so much about it. And since I have it, I decided to give it a try and see how it performs. And I know that these energy rifles, they can now kill you pretty quickly, these quartz rifles and so on. However, it seems to me that the Ripper SMG has an even faster kill time, at least when you're really well on the enemy, right? Also, once again, something that I've given you as an information in the last video: if you play this game mode, you can, in fact, double equip the same weapon in slot 1 and 2. You can have two of them, which gives you twice the amount of ammo capacity, and it will also allow you to swap targets to, swap weapons to the other same weapon once your first one is depleted. Most of the time, though, I go for a reload and, yeah, just get some quick kills. And boy, things die fast against the Ripper SMG. And also, something that I definitely need to let you know is that in one of the recent PTU updates, I think this 5 days ago or so, they had, or let it be a week ago, they had mentioned an upgrade or a buff coming for the Ripper SMG. Currently, the weapon has like a range of 24 meters or so on the live server, in which it does 100% of its weapon damage. Beyond that range, the weapon will begin to significantly drop in damage output, and I don't know, at 30, 40, and 50 meters range, I don't think you even do any damage anymore. Alright, we'll see a little moment later where I tried that and I didn't seem to get any damage done to the enemy anymore. Now, with the recent announcement in the PTU changelog, the Ripper SMG actually gets a 100% increased range in which it will still do its full 100% weapon damage. So instead of like 24 meters or whatever it was before, 23, it will be twice as much. So 46 or 48 meters of distance in which the full 100% of weapon damage will still be done by the weapon. And that is a major buff, because one of the, let's call it, only disadvantages of this weapon is the fact that it loses damage pretty early on when you're firing at larger range, right? And this being countered with 100% increase on that range is tremendous. Yeah, it's interesting. I swapped to the other weapon and it required a reload first, even though it said it was fully reloaded before. And I see this a lot. Alright. But you see, we're breezing through the enemies pretty quickly. However, you may have seen it in the intro, the other guy already had 6,000 points by the time I began playing with 0. It was not enough time for me to catch up this much, but we still made it to place 3 with 16 kills and 3 deaths. Yeah, the only time I don't score first is when the match is already halfway over by the time I go in. Every other time, I typically come out first, no problem. It's my favorite thing to do in FPS games, is what I played most of my life. The fun thing about Star Citizen is, though, that there is only a small aspect of first-person combat in the game, right? Most of the game is other gameplay. However, it does exist, and sometimes you're gonna board a ship or defend a ship from being boarded. I had that with friends. Or you have a certain PvP event where you have to storm a bunker base, collect drugs and whatever, right? And in that situation, you might want to have that guy on your team that can confidently rush a bunker of 3 or 4 players and just mow them all down, because that's his thing, right? Anyways, let's go back to the Ripper SMG review. Also describe how it performs and compares to other weapons, okay? For example, the Quartz Assault Rifle, which is one of the weapons that can kill extremely quickly. Like I said, the Ripper SMG to me seems to have an even faster kill time. Ever so slightly, but if you're perfectly on the enemy and you are within the 100% perfect range, the Ripper SMG seems to outperform pretty much anything. Also, there is no spread on the weapon. It doesn't lose any accuracy. However, it does lose damage output at range, as I've told you before, which is going to get increased by 100%. So you can basically do any short-range combat situation, storming bases and bunkers, without really running into any range damage loss problems, at least after that update that I've mentioned, okay? So for example, right here, one of those OLP bases that were here, like this, orbital laser, nothing here after the update will ever cause you to lose damage when you're fighting the enemy. Right, so that's pretty good, and that's its strength, the strength of this weapon. Now, most people will not be fighting with a longer, like it doesn't make sense to put a 3x, 4x scope on this weapon, right? You'll be having a red dot on it, similar to what I'm running here. That's how you're probably gonna run the weapon, because you're not intending this for a longer range combat anyways. And if you do expect long range FPS combat, you're probably gonna pack a sniper rifle or something like a DMR or so on your back anyways, right? So this thing will basically do exactly what it's designed to do, and in that regard, it basically wins most encounters when the aim and the skill on both sides is the same, when the situation and the circumstances are the same. Of course, you can always lose to another player. You can lose even to an inferior weapon if you get shot from behind, or unfortunately your aim is not as snappy in this moment as normally, or whatever. Right? You can always the weapon does not make you invulnerable. It just improves your chances of success in these situations, I would say. Okay, so overall, an extremely capable weapon. I've also seen a lot of comments from people who say, "Hey, we need to have this weapon made available again for purchase somewhere in the verse," or because I don't think it's even able. It doesn't even drop anything. I don't anywhere. Nobody can loot the weapon anywhere. I don't think there is any such thing. Like the P8 AR, for instance, that was available for purchase on the RSI page and then made it into several loot tables in-game. This here did not from what I know. And so rightfully so, people are saying, hey, we need this weapon to be made available in-game somehow. Be it to buy it in the game stores or to alternatively loot it off some other guys. I agree. Especially since the weapon is actually really powerful and capable. People should be able to access this otherwise. Here's the moment where I fire at long range at a guy and I cannot deal damage to him. Remember, again, this is before they changed the range on the Ripper SMG and increase the damage distribution curve. But at that moment, I saw him sitting in that corner and I was not able to do any point of damage to him at all. Or at least not that I noticed I would have done any damage. He fired back at me, immediately started doing a lot of damage, and I had to escape. So that should be better after the update, and probably within these halls or rooms here, you're not gonna really run into any problems. All right, another match that is almost at the end here. We're at 6,000 points, although there's another guy who's relatively close here. It's always a matter of finding enemies. Sometimes, no matter how good you are, there's just no one to find. You just can't find the guys. And then you run into the next corridor and there's just two guys fighting each other, and you just you just take both of those green skulls. There's a luck component to it, and sometimes you just can't find enough enemies. It's also part of the game. All right, this guy I believe is running my Lumen. But the Lumen is also a really strong weapon. I really like it. Also, yeah, I remember now, many of you guys wanted me to test the Galant rifle, which I haven't yet done. Of course, I ran the Galant rifle from time to time in the game, but I've never made a serious performance test for it to find out exactly how good the weapon is and compare it to, for example, a Ripper SMG in short range, or to compare it against the Lumen, which is still one of my favorites. So yeah, we might be able to do all that in the next video or some of the upcoming videos. I definitely will check the Galant out, since so many of you told me to do that. But one thing, or one request I've gotten a lot more often was the Ripper SMG. So that's why I'm doing this one here in this episode. All right. I'm recording this gameplay right now here, or commentary, before the CitizenCon, so I'm assuming I probably released a video after. Did you see what I did here? I was in reload and I got surprised by another enemy. I just instantly turned around, made a 180, and walked away, right? You don't have to sit in front of a guy and finish your reload and die in the process. What's much faster is either switching to a new weapon, but even that takes more time. The safest way is to actually just escape the fight. Just real quick, turn around, get around the corner. And the chances are the guy will now have a like a mechanism in his brain that triggers him to push. But by the time he does that, you may have already reloaded, and by that time, he basically just runs into your open fire. And that's exactly what he did. He actually even jumped in that situation. If you go back, you see it. I triggered him to follow me aggressively and even jump around the corner, and that was the worst thing you can do because you're losing accuracy and you no longer have air control. You have no air control. So when you do this jump, you fly in a certain speed and you keep having that exact momentum. So you're moving extremely predictably, and that means death. Alright, so we've reached the end. I still haven't figured it out. At the end, you collect 2 more skulls and bam, you get to 12,400 points. I think in the previous match, alright, we have 17 kills and 5 deaths here. I believe in the previous match where I couldn't finish first because I came in too late. If I gotten just 2 more skulls, I would have probably went from these, what did I have, 8,000 to 12,000 kills. Because somehow there is this end moment where the last skulls just give you like 2,000 points each or something. I don't know. It's a little odd. I haven't quite figured out why sometimes the skulls in the end just give you way too many points and instantly end the match. In case you're wondering, I have 2 different SMGs right here. One of them has the night scope variant here with this blue optics, and the other one does not. So you can see when I switch weapons. Sometimes it will be this, but I find that seeing enemies in, well, bright environments, it's extremely difficult with this scope. In this one here, of course, it's much easier with the regular red dot. And again, I've said this in the other video, if you are on this map and you're playing this game mode, try and conquer this area here, the server room or whatever I'm in. This is the perfect position on this map. This is where all the enemies are revolving around, so you'll have multiple, the highest amount of engagements and also chances to get the skulls. You have cover with the glass that you can look through and engage whenever you want to from safety. You also have not many spawns around you that can surprise you from behind, so you have an ideal situation to exert a good amount of map control from there. So that is basically the strategic location to conquer and capture and hold, and then you should end up winning this fight. We have 230 FPS right here. This is insane. 240 sometimes even. Ooh. Unreal that he survived this. I was on him like a freaking aimbot, but somehow his energy rifle made it first. Maybe he hit my head and I didn't hit his, so I don't know. But then again, we all know that Star Citizen is not exactly known for its perfect, FPS sync and connectivity there. Whoa! Hello. Another guy going down, but can I get the skull at least? Yes. Okay, I made it. And I almost took him down, despite having a clear disadvantage in this situation. I almost took him with me. That was close. And, still very annoying, this bug that's in the game where, I don't know if it's related to the other bug we had on the PU, where your character basically wears 2 helmets at the same time and you're like overheating or overweight or whatever. It feels almost like this. But it's a different one, because in the PU bug you would be like, you get this overheating symbol. And here it's like you're running out of oxygen. I think this is what people have told me, that in this bug you spawn with your armor at like 10% or 5% oxygen. It's not enough. Something like this. But this bug is extremely annoying, and I've also heard from some players who had it more and some other players had it less often. It seems to always be a problem when you're outside where there is no oxygen. So this supports the theory that it's an oxygen problem. But it even happens inside of bases where there is like atmosphere, which is weird, right? You wouldn't expect this to be a problem. All right, let's get those skulls. Here we go. My next, the guy who follows me only has 3,700 points. I'm so far ahead of everybody. Something was shooting me from behind. I'm even leaving the skull there, laying on the ground, because I first wanted to deal with the threat that hit me from behind, but couldn't find him. So we'll take the skull. All right. Oh, there's a head. It's crazy, with this game mode you can always see enemies so well, right? Because you can really see that shining head coming around the corner. This guy died so quick, he was only able to hit me for a split second before he was gone. And you see the blue lasers? That's the quartz assault rifle here. Oh, he was attacked from behind, it seems. Okay. Alright, and this skull now gave me 2,500 points. Why is that happening? I don't understand. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next video. And yeah, let me know what you think about this weapon. Bye-bye.